people. Welcome back to Uninfluenced, where we're doing this shit on a budget and fuck you.
Welcome back to Uninfluenced. Wait, he already said that.
We're already demonetized again.
Well, you got to be monetized before you can be demonetized.
Exactly. So, it's been almost a year, going close to, it's right at 11 months since we did this last. That's why the whole thing is not set up. We're going to be doing it a little bit different. We only have one camera, no producer. I'll be editing, so it'll look like shit. But the good news is you'll be able to hear it.
It's the baller on a budget.
Yeah.
Type setup.
Yeah, we wanted to go back simple. We're going to get into a little bit of questions and answers, and then just kind of give you all the rundown of what's been happening over the last, 11 fucking months.
Dude, that's crazy. It's been that long.
Yeah, I had that little raggedy-ass kid, and he took a lot of time.
Can you turn my volume up at all?
Mic or?
Whatever.
Headphones.
I mean, if the mic is fine, then just the headphones.
Okay.
I don't know if that's good.
Okay, there we go.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. See? Y'all are catching this shit on the fly. I ain't even going to edit that out.
That's the real behind the scenes.
Yeah. So it's been 11 months. We keep getting questions. When is it coming back? When's it coming back? And for the last 4 months, I keep telling people, oh, we're coming back. We're coming back. And just, I keep getting busy. You keep getting busy. It's mainly shit keeps going on with me, and it just hasn't worked out. But we're going to make more of an effort to bring it back, not weekly. What did we decide? Bi-weekly?
Probably, yeah, a couple times a month, I think.
Yeah, a couple times a month. We're still doing the going to car meets, hanging out, looking at cars, doing our normal studying the shit out of cars, looking at cool new things, and driving the speed limit.
Or under.
Or just a tad bit under. We have been doing a couple rallies with a pretty cool group of people. That's been a blast.
Yeah. There's an article I definitely want to show or talk about while you're doing that.
Okay. And as we get going, guys, I want to let you guys know we will be getting better about putting the articles and all that stuff up, the things we're talking about. This episode, it won't. Matter of fact, I'm trying out a new setup, so I'm not 100% sure if the YouTube part will come out, but for sure the audio will. Yeah, so if you don't like that, again, fuck off. But we're glad to have you back. We're glad to be talking to you. What you got?
Well, so I'm going to jump right into some car stuff. There was an article on it was Road and Track, how modern traction stability control makes you faster, which I think is, I guess why I wanted to bring it up is that it's something that I think is pretty common in a lot of car circles, is that, especially, let's be honest, there's dudes with big egos, AA personalities. It's like, oh, I'm a driver. Like, everybody thinks they're a better driver than they are. And so, like, step one is I'm going to turn everything off and just fucking punch it. But the reality of it is, when traction control and stability control and ESC and all that shit first came out, and with some companies more than others, I think, is so intrusive to the point where it fucks the experience up and tends to make you slower. Mm-hmm. But at this point, technology being what it is, in most instances, when it's turned on to a point where it's balanced, it makes you a better driver. Not just the obvious, like it makes you a safer driver and keeps the back end from getting so squirrely that you end up rolling in a ditch. But it actually has an ability to, if you're on a track or a rally or whatever, is that you're from a performance standpoint are more competent than you are without it. And I think Ferrari being at least the brand that I think does the best job at using that Manatino switch to really maximize that, is that I think they've done a brilliant job at, the engine cuts just like, if there's any wheel slippage, whether it's traction or side slip, is that it cuts just enough power for the wheels to grab and no more than that. And I don't know how the fuck that they've done that, because like the level of like micro decisions or micro adjustments that are being made on like the millionths of a second intervals, just where the engine is making those adjustments to cut power and torque to the wheels, is something that I don't think I'll probably ever have a good grasp for how mechanically that actually takes place. But when you're actually driving it, you can tell, you know, and you can tell that the car between the chassis and the driver aids are making it to where it's maximizing your ability as a driver, and I think it's pretty awesome. It's like one of those what a time to be alive kind of things. It's just like I think that they've finally really, most companies have really dialed it in to where, you know, they've been able to master that technology. One thing I will say that one of the reasons I love Ferrari over Porsche is that in that, you know, Ferrari, you can turn traction off, so just wheel spinning, and keep your side slip traction control on. So if it starts to slide sideways, then that's when it adjusts. Whereas with Porsche, and I if somebody understands why they do this, if there's anybody, you know, Porsche out there wise that can explain this in the comments or write in, even fucking come on the show and explain it. But with like I had a GT2 RS for a while, and same with the Turbo S, is that you have on the traction control, if you want to turn traction control off, you have to turn side slip control off first. Like you can have, you know, everything on. The first stage of turning things off that is only the side slip control. If you want to turn traction, you have to turn side slip and then traction. I don't know if it's like it protects the transmission kind of thing, or I mean, I don't know what possible logical reason they could have for wanting to do that other than being on a track. But even then, to me, that still doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like, you know, to have the side slip off but the regular traction on, I don't get it, you know.
Yeah.
But from a driving experience standpoint, it's frustrating. That's my 2 cents.
CT, is it CT off is the one you're talking about, right?
Yeah. Control traction is,
Yeah.
well, I mean, so on Ferrari, yes, CT is traction control. ESC is the electronic side slip control.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the one car that they truly do, like you said, they do a really good job of, you can put it in that CT off and you can have a lot of fun, and it's like the car knows where it's still supposed to be while getting loose if it wants to, too, or if you want it to. And then the next level is, like, some people are almost nutty to turn that next level off in certain cars.
Yeah, I think it depends on the model, too, right? I mean, Pistas and F8s, yeah, I mean, like, turning your traction off, CT off makes sense if it's warm. Tires are warm and you've got good grip and you're already at speed. Yeah, that makes sense. You know, if you're in second gear, it doesn't make sense really to ever have it off. Side slip control, honestly, like unless you're just trying to drift on a track or in a parking lot or whatever, like to me, there's no reason to ever turn that off in a Ferrari. But whereas, you know, again, the Porsche, it's TC or it's ESC off. There's a button to do ESC off, and then there's a button that's ESC/TC off. Yeah. So you can't just have traction off in a Porsche, which again, I don't get. But
I'm pretty sure the Lamborghini's the same way, right?
I don't know. I mean,
I can't remember off the top of my head now.
Yeah, I mean the Performante with it being the UGR build, like it doesn't even have the same ECU. So I don't even, you know, that it's traction on or off. At least the way I've driven it, but
I can't remember. There's one car. This is where we've maybe driven too many cars. But there's one, you hit the button and ESC's off, but CT kind of stays on, and then you hold it and everything's disabled. But I can't remember if that's an American, like a Corvette or something. I know there's one. Someone will put in the comments what that is. But I agree with that article. If you were to, there's really good drivers who can drive a car with no kind of anything. Yeah. I mean, they're just fucking badass drivers. And then there's the guys who can say CT off. They can turn that off and go beat the shit out of a car and have a blast. And then there's other people who shouldn't ever even get to those 2 levels. Yeah. But yet they do it, and then they go run into a wall somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, I think like with most things, it's an experience thing, you know, especially if you grew up, if you're, you know, our age or older. I mean, obviously there are some that are younger that grew up on tracks and drifting and whatever, but by and large, you know, if you grew up on American muscle cars with no aids, you know, then you have an understanding how to use the throttle and your steering, and mostly the throttle is that, you know, you're feathering it and that is your traction control. You know, you're using your foot on the throttle, whereas the luxury and the lack of finesse, I think, that exists in driving modern cars now is you just fucking hammer it and the car does the rest.
Yeah.
You know, so 20, 30 years ago, it was your foot feathering that was the, you know, cutting the power or not. And there's, of course, a little bit of a delay. So you got to be fucking good with it. But, you know, whereas now it's not the case. The article talks about, I'll just read a little bit of it. It said, I had a bit of imposter syndrome driving the Chevy Corvette Z06 on track last year, more so than usual. Here's a 670 horsepower mid-engine rear drive car with near slick tires that had suffered the indignity of hours of road and track staff lapping, and it was easy to drive. It was easy to get around the track at a reasonable pace without trying too hard. This isn't so much a reflection of my skill as it's a very generous helping hand, in this case, of GM's brilliant performance traction management system. To me, I would say the exact same thing about the Pista, you know, is that we had a lot of cars before that there's something about when you get in that car that there's a lot of things going on, but, you know, and you guys are probably tired of hearing us talk about how good the Pista is, but well-deserved is that it makes driving easier, but even more fun. It's like, it doesn't make it easier in a boring way sometimes a Porsche will do. It makes it easier, which in turn makes it more fun because it feels like you're a professional race car driver and you're pushing that car to its limits when you're really not. Yeah. It's that the car is so good and so balanced at kind of keeping it where it needs to be, but on the edge the whole fucking time it's remarkable.
Yeah, and we do talk a lot about the Pista, and we both, well, not both. He had the Pista. I drove his Pista.
A few thousand miles. I mean, you drove it a lot.
We strive to find something as good as the Pista. And part of that group we're in, I've read people, the 765 LT is better than the Ferrari Pista. Not how we drive. Slow driving, not pushing it up to 200, every now and then pushing it up to those speeds. Yeah, it may be. But the way we drive, till you've experienced being with us, driving how we drive, the 765 is not as good as a Pista. Like drag times, I got in a debate with that guy about the Pista able to catch the 765 at the top.
At the top, yeah.
And there's no way. Yes, there is.
Yeah.
And just so happens we weren't videoing that time. Yeah. I don't know why, but we legit, when they do them on drag times, and I respect the shit out of that dude. Some of the stuff he does I think is really great because it gives you a baseline to go look at cars. You know, a stock car's here. What's mine looking like tuned if you didn't go do draggies with it? Yeah. And he's really good at it. But when we go out and we do it, we push that car and we're not, we hit 201. No, there's still clear highway or clear road. Yeah. 202, 203. And if one of us is chasing the other, you know, we'll get to a meet or wherever we're going. And the day we did that, I believe I drove the Pista to the meet, and then you drove the Pista back.
Yeah. We
flip-flopped on the way back. Because I asked you when we got to that meet, I said, did you slow down? And you said, no, not at all. When we were...
It was pinned. And 191 was it.
Yeah, and I was
for where we were at. Now, granted, I know it says 205, and there's Autobahn video of guys getting closer to that. But even with that, you know... to me, where there's such a difference between, I think, drag times or really any video bloggers, vloggers, whatever on YouTube that do car content, is that, you know, it's usually drag racing, or even if it's roll racing, it's still that middle section of speedometer. You know, even if it's the higher 2/3 of it, it's not the last 30%, or it's not the last third of the speedometer, and that's where a lot of cars that will kick the shit out of some cars in every other metric, the 765 being an example, like up to badass car. Yeah, up to 160, 170, like a Pista has no chance of keeping up with that car. But if you're already doing, you know, 120, 130, 140, and you're trying to get to 215, and you're in an area, a closed professional racetrack where you can accommodate those kinds of speeds for extended periods of time, there's very, very few cars that the Pista won't either catch or beat and outrun and reel in and pass or what have you. It's just a hell of a car that way. Surprisingly, the fucking ZR1 also. I mean, that fucking thing will do 217, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But there's another metric there I think that's important where, like from 150 to 200, we'll say, like that's a very different speed than 1 to 150.
Mm-hmm.
The two most common metrics as far as draggy goes is 60 to 130 and 100 to 150. And cars, there's a lot of cars, not a lot, there are cars out there that we'll take the SF90 versus the 765 versus the Pista as an example. Is you've got 765 and the SF90 will do right at 5 seconds, maybe just shy of 5 seconds in both of those, 60 to 130 and 100 to 150. The Pista will not, it'll be right at 6 or just under.
Mm-hmm.
But 150 to 200, in both cases, the Pista is faster than the SF90 and the 765 LT. If you're at 150 miles an hour and you're trying to get to top end, the Pista is going to beat both of those cars.
Yeah, 100%. And that's where our driving is different than other people's. I'm not saying they can't drive, they're scared to drive. We push the cars to a limit that the manufacturers would probably get pissed. But, well, I don't think so. I think they designed that.
Make an advertisement.
Yeah, because
maybe both.
We're doing what they designed the cars to do. And I wouldn't say we're both adrenaline junkies, but we're both unafraid to push the cars.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think like with most things, it's been a gradual experience to get to that point where, we certainly didn't start out driving that way.
No.
But over the years have just gotten more and more comfortable and experienced in that kind of dynamic or situation. And now that's kind of what I value. I mean, even like say a GT3 RS as an example, like it handles so fucking well. Yeah, up to 150, it's got no chance against any of the cars that we're talking about. I mean, and not even close. But once you get up to those speeds, that thing, will fucking hang with anything.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's 200, 300, 500 horsepower less than some of them, because it handles so well and will get up there. But
and I think where we differ too is I don't drive the way we drive all the time. Like if you're not with me and we're not fucking around, I do push limits, but they're not the same.
Yeah.
I could have someone in the car who's, hey, I want to ride. Okay.
Yeah, a little burst here or there.
Yeah, and they'll freak out. Oh, man, this is nuts. And then if you've ever rode with one of us driving, it's totally different. And that's almost every time. And I think it's when we both got into this, driving the cars, we were hanging out. The very first time we ever drove together, we took your R8 and your Porsche.
Yeah.
And I drove the R8, and it was kind of the same thing. I drove one to the meet, and then we flip-flopped. And the whole way, we're just looking at each other, driving, cruising, and then it just fucking boom. We just started going. And ever since then, it's never been a really, oh, shit, I'm faster than you, or I built this faster than you. Because in reality, you own the fastest car that either of us have drove.
Well, I mean, fast in a certain metric.
Yeah, in a straight line metric, that is the fastest car either of us have ever owned or driven.
Yeah.
I would say the second would be probably my R8.
Mm-hmm.
And then progressively, those, we get rid of them. Why? Because they're not fun. We want the all-around 150 to 200 miles an hour can do what sustained. And you can safely do it, not just stick in one lane of open track and stay there. You can move around and you feel the car doing what it's supposed to do. To me, that's more exciting than just hammering it, letting off.
Yeah.
Hammer it, letting off.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if I had a warehouse full of cars and, that was something that I did on a regular basis, was like, competitive roll racing at TX2K or, something like that. Sure. For me, that's just not really what tickles my fancy, as they say. I mean, I like to just go out in the garage, jump in the car, go for a drive, pull it back in. Like, I don't want to have to trailer shit to a track. I don't want to, mess with really any of that stuff. I'm glad that I had it and experienced it and got to mess with it a little bit and do some competitions with it. We'll call them because it was a neat experience, and it also, I think, just makes you an even better driver because it's such a ridiculous amount of speed that, you know, the other cars that are still super fast aren't as intimidating.
Yeah,
because you've been twice that fast now, and so now it kind of slows the warp speed down enough to where you can kind of gather your thoughts and see what the fuck's going on.
Like an asshole, I would say we've both stepped back into 600 horsepower cars after both of those cars, and it's like, this sucks.
It's just not quick enough.
Yeah, it can get up to the speeds we want it to. It's just it takes too long.
Yeah.
To me, it's that 720 wheel to 850, 900 wheel, and we've said that for how long now?
Yeah.
That's the perfect area to be in, that high 4 second, 60 to 130 to
low 6.
Yeah, low 6. I mean, that gap it's just a perfect feeler.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of stock cars you can get that will do a 5.9, a 6.0, or a 6.1, and they're amazing cars. They'll do whatever you want. They'll scare the shit out of you, even low end.
Yeah.
There's some that are faster, but they're just not fun. You know, I would love to take time in a hypercar. I would love for someone to be like, hey, would you drive my Bugatti? Hold on. Do you want me to drive your Bugatti or do you want me to drive your fucking car?
Yeah.
You know, not this, hey, will you take it 12 miles to a car meet deal? No.
Same here. I'd love to push one, like a Koenigsegg, a Pagani, and a Bugatti. Those three I would love to take and drive from here to, you know, one of our meets.
Runs. Yeah.
And yeah, like legitimately just hammer it and see how it does, you know. I you know, who knows? You could be surprised. My assumption, which maybe I shouldn't assume, but it's hard not to, is that they're all so big and powerful and heavy that, you know, I fear that they wouldn't be as fun to drive.
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong. But yeah, if we ever got that opportunity, it'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I also really want to drive a Ford GT, totally unrelated, a new Ford GT in that same, because that's a 600. I mean, that, you know,
It's 640, right?
something like that.
Yeah.
You know, but it like that's one car that we neither of us have driven, that not one of the new ones, and not. I drove a what do you call it? It was the first. I mean, that was the car that started my
GT40.
No, it was a regular Ford GT, but the first generation one was like an 05.
Yeah.
But I like drove it up and down the street, and that was it. You know?
Yeah.
And it was fucking 12 years ago or whatever. So, you know, to drive one of the Gen 3 new ones, or is it Gen 2? Fuck, I don't know. To drive one of the new ones, a 2020, 21, the way we do in that same kind of 40-mile test strip, if you will, would be awesome.
What always gets to me, it's the same with Lamborghini to me, and some of y'all are going to say, you're always hating on Lamborghini. For those of you that don't know, I've had a shitload of Lamborghinis. What's annoying to me is seeing the fucking Audi emblems on a Lamborghini, taking off the wheel. I would say on one of the highest spec STOs.
Yeah.
You were there. I took that bitch apart, and just fucking Audi emblems everywhere. Audi key. Okay, cool. It's still fucking annoying to me. Ferrari feels special. The Ford GT, it's a fucking Ford Focus key.
Yeah.
You know, and you get in and it's like, fuck, these are switches off my F-150. You know,
it's got a souped up Raptor engine in it.
Yeah.
You know, and the V6.
But the 05 had the 5.0, and someone's going to correct me. It may have had the 5.2 or something in it, but it was a supercharged fucking
V8, right?
Yeah, I wish they would have stuck with that fucker.
Yeah.
But the new generation is a sexy fucking car.
Yeah, it's cool.
And I think Richard Rollins is the biggest fucking douchebag alive. But did you see when he brought his to the meet, when he opened the doors, it says fuck off?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, so when the doors are up, it says fuck off.
That's awesome.
He's still a douche. Yeah, the Ford, that would be a fun one to drive.
Yeah.
The 812, I've had the opportunity. I almost pulled the trigger. I didn't do it. I still want to drive one. I still want to push it just to see. But people that have pushed them have said the way we drive after watching some of the shit we do, we wouldn't have as much fun in them.
Well, yeah, I think it's kind of a sledgehammer where you want a scalpel. You know, like it's just not the right tool for the job as far as what we're trying to do. I really think any GT cruiser type of setup that would be the case. I mean, really the only possible hybrid that way would be a Turbo S, and both of us have had them and not kept them for that reason, is that they're capable in that environment, but it's not the same experience as a true driver's car,
And I'm a sound person, as I'm kind of a sound whore. I'm the same way with speakers in a car, which sounds silly. That STO had the worst fucking stereo I've ever heard in my life. Sounded like two kids with a solo cup and a string between them fucking talking. I love a good sound system, but in the exotics, I love a good note, an exhaust note. And that fucking V12 Ferrari sounds so good. That fucking Aventador, they just sound so good. I think an Aventador, again, had the opportunity, just went a different route, all because of the dual clutch. The new Lamborghini, some of y'all are going to hate me, and I hope it changes, but I'm not a fan. I think they failed by not putting an engine cover on it.
Yeah.
For one, I think some people are going to get sued, and they're going to end up having to put an engine cover on it because some dumbass at a car meet is going to reach into that hot ass V12 and burn the shit out of themselves.
Yeah.
Someone's going to say, well, they shouldn't be leaning over it. If any of y'all been to a car meet, there's that guy.
Well, but there's kids and, it's fucking dumb. I don't get it. I mean, I guess I didn't realize that was the case. That's a surprise. There's no fucking engine cover.
Nope, no engine. And as of right now, everyone they've taken out and shown, that's how it is. And on the side, it says exposed open engine.
That's dumb.
And they need to put some Lexan, something. I get it. It's a work of art. We all fucking agree. I think they were dumbasses to cover that with that black fin to do the V12 and the V10. I think both those should have been exposed engines all the time. But covered, exposed, covered.
Yeah.
Same with the Ferrari. A Ferrari engine is a fucking work of art.
Yeah.
That's the one complaint I would say of an SF90 is you can't see enough of that engine.
If you pop the engine cover, you can get a decent look. But yeah, because it's so low and so much of it is covered up, you can't see it the way you can a Pista or F8 or 488. But
now keep in mind, I'm grasping at straws to bitch about anything at the SF90, and I haven't driven one yet, but if that's when we originally saw them, we both said, those are ugly. And then we saw one in person, and it was like, man, if the colors were just a little different.
Yeah, the right spec.
Yeah, which our right spec to some people could be the totally wrong fucking spec. I get that. I'm not a red person, but to me, some of the red SF90s do look good. It's really weird. I found a blue one I like for like what was 1.3 million or something.
Is that it?
Yeah, it was the TaylorMade car. I sent it to you.
Yeah.
No, I'm not buying a $1.3 million car unless all of y'all want to go on to Patreon and donate a lot of fucking money.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Ferrari is setting a tone and going a certain way. To me, they fucked up with the 296. I hope the next version of the 296 is more sporty, aggressive.
Yeah.
But I get kind of where they were going with that Dino-ish look.
I don't, honestly. I mean, I don't like the way that it looks. I've seen, similarly to the SF90, but even more rare, I've seen a few specs that I thought actually looked pretty good. I still don't overall like the shape. Just the lines on it, I'm just not crazy about. I really dislike the exhaust. And to me, it reminds me, the new Lamborghini V12, what is it, the fucking... It's got some weird fucking
Revelto, some shit like that.
And I think the new McLaren Arturo, or maybe it's the 750S. They all have these weird like center mounted exhausts that don't even look like exhaust to me. It reminds me of like when Ducati has their stock exhaust on the V4 SP, and it's like a fucking triangle, or Aprilia the same thing. The Aprilia RS660 has this weird like triangle exhaust. I mean, it looks like something off a fucking spaceship, and I think it looks fucking terrible.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I think the technology and the driver experience in the 296, even though I've not driven one, I have no doubt it's a fucking monster and a blast to drive. No doubt.
We've had people tell us that.
Yeah, I know it is. I know it's a phenomenal car performance-wise. But yeah, like if you could put the drivetrain and chassis, or just put the body of a fucking Pista on the 296, like goddamn,
or even a F8.
Yeah,
so that way you could have that Pista version later. Yeah. I've spec'd one that looked pretty cool, but it was because you got to have that Assetto Fiorano on there. So you could only pick, was it 2 colors of the stripe or some shit?
Yeah, I don't know. They'll do anything.
Yeah, they'll do anything, but it's hard to do online and get what you're. So I built it, and then I made the car the same color as the stripe, so the stripe disappeared. But on the SF90, the stripe grew on us.
Yeah.
So far, I don't think we've seen an Assetto Fiorano 296, have we?
Not in person. I haven't.
No. So, yeah, we don't know how that one will do, but we'll see. I agree, though, the exhaust, I think everybody pushed the 765 with the 4 exhaust. I thought was really fucking cool.
Yeah.
But that's a special car. It needed it. The low 2 exhaust that they did on all the special, the 675 LT, Ferrari's done it for a while now. Lamborghini Performantes, the Evo now, the Technica, all of those went to that. I thought that was a good location for them.
Or even the high exhaust on like a 600
The
LT.
600 LT.
That's fucking cool.
That was fucking cool. But to me, you took when they did the 750, they took a lot of specialness away from that 765.
Yeah, agreed.
And in the group we're in, I said over and over, I think the 750 is going to devalue the fuck out of the 765. And they're like, oh, no, it's a long tail. It's numbered. I don't give a fuck. If you're talking 15 horsepower and not that much difference, unless we're going to the track.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I mean, look at the prices of 765s.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get coupes for low fours.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, getting close to almost fucking sticker in some of them.
Yeah. And is it because of the economy, or is it because the new 750 coming out?
I'm sure it's some of
both.
Yeah, because even before the 750 was announced, they started coming down quite a bit,
And the Black Series.
Yeah, I mean, fucking almost every car. I mean, there's only a handful of cars that have somehow managed to weather the tanking of the used exotic car market.
Which one is it that's doing really, really good still? The fucking Pista.
Fucking Pista. Still 550 to low 6s on low mile specs. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, and 5 years from now, when y'all are virtually listening to the radio or watching YouTube through your fucking sunglasses, go back and listen to us fucking keep talking about the Pista for a fucking year.
Yeah.
And we keep coming back to it. It's so fucking special.
Yeah.
I still would like to drive the 458 Speciale too, just to get the experience of what that car is like. I don't think it's going to be fast enough.
I don't think so either.
But it's going to be fast.
Yeah. To me, it'd be one of those cars where, like on a track or around town,
mm-hmm.
no two ways about it, would be one of the funnest cars on the planet to drive, similar to like a GT3.
Mm-hmm.
But out north of 100 miles an hour and above. GT3, 458, those cars are not going to be our cup of tea, I think.
But the exhaust note of a 458 to me is the exhaust note almost every V8 exotic owner's going for.
Yeah. Yeah, with downpipes and fucking...
Yeah, and they're trying.
Yeah. Understandably so. I mean, it's a sexy fucking sound. And one thing, too, just as kind of a show update, we're going to try to do... I just said it again. We are going to bring more driver experiences of different types of cars, not that we own, but ones that we drive and put through the paces and kind of do an informal review. Some of them, hopefully will accompany some video, but that way it's not just us talking about, what we're driving at the time over and over. It's, talking about different experiences.
And the trouble we do have with putting up what we drive, or the way we drive, not what we drive, the way we drive. In my eyes, there's some stuff I don't want to publish for a couple of reasons. I don't want a kid seeing me at a car meet and be like, I just turned 16 and I was doing what you did.
Yeah.
I don't want that to be, so I'm cautious that way right now. It sounds silly, but trust me, and there's people who can put in the comments, we put our fucking cars through the paces. If we're testing a car, we put it through the paces because we want to know if we're spending our money right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, yeah, it's like it's all relative. But I mean, if I'm going to spend the money, it needs to be on something that I'm going to truly enjoy. And I mean, like in every regard, not just, oh, it sounds good and it looks cool, or it's great performance, but I can't stand the way it looks. Like, you know,
it's got to be rounded.
Yeah. I mean, you work hard. Like, you know, neither of us were given any of this shit. Like, we've worked for a long time to get to the point where we can drive any of the things that we're talking about. And we drive them, so it's like I'm not gonna take that for granted, and B, I'm not gonna waste it. You know, is that like, yeah, I've worked hard to get those things, so when I get them, if it's not what I want, I'm not gonna mess with it.
Yeah.
Did you want to answer some questions, or is there anything else you want to cover?
I'm gonna just go through a couple of the quick questions. Some of these questions again are a year old. Some of them are pretty recent, but we'll go through some, and then if you guys want to ask questions, it's ask.uninfluenced@gmail.com. Start putting in some new stuff, and we'll go from there. We said we're not going to say names of who wrote it in, right?
Right.
Okay. I recently discovered Fastest Car on Netflix. Seeing the average supercar owner not know how to drive their car, it got me thinking. Have either of you ever raced any of your supercars in a drag race?
Like in a sanctioned drag race at a drag strip? I have not.
I have not.
No, I have not.
We've
been on tracks.
The roads in Mexico?
I mean, like from a dig with the light tree and all that. No, I've never done that. You know, for me personally, like, I suppose it makes sense to do it once, to say I've done it, and to have an actual opinion on it that I'm not even going to say matters, but is at least valid, because I haven't done it. It just, the thought of doing it doesn't do a whole lot for me. For me personally, like I like to watch them from getting an idea of what the cars are doing, you know, in that metric, in the quarter mile time frame, but that's really about it. Like, I'd rather, you know, to his point about Brooks earlier, is like, you know, he does a phenomenal fucking job with his channel of showcasing about every fucking car you'd want against every other car you'd want in that controlled drag strip environment. So for me personally, that's enough. Like, I don't really need to go do that. It doesn't seem fun, or that fun to me. I could be totally wrong. It could be a fucking blast, and maybe I'd get addicted to it, but like I said, from a time management standpoint, I like to just walk out into the garage, jump in my car, go for a fucking drive whenever I want, and not like, oh, is the track open? What's the weather like? How long, you know, do I need to trailer my shit there? Like, I just don't want to fuck with any of that. Yeah. Same reason with like having a fucking boat or a jet ski. Like, it's too big of a pain in the ass.
Yeah. I was looking at boats the other day. Then I remembered.
Don't do it.
Fuck that boat. Yeah, I had one. Man, you get some good friends while you got a boat.
Oh, I know it.
Them motherfuckers disappear once you pull that bitch up on the trailer.
Time to clean or fill up with fuel. But I guess, you know, one thing I will add to that is that, you know, your frustration with supercar owners not being able to drive. Here's the thing with that, is that I get that perspective. I would also say is that, you know, I do think it's important, like from a principle standpoint in this country, is that we're all guilty of being too quick to say, you know, this is bullshit. They shouldn't be able to do that. Whatever it is, like, to each their own. Like, these people worked hard. They don't know how to drive. Hey, whatever. As long as they're not fucking hurting, you know, innocent people. You know, if they worked hard to get to a point where they can afford a car that they don't know how to drive and drive it like shit and stare at it in their garage most of the time, like, they get to do that, you know, because they got themselves to that point. I do agree in that, like, I'm certainly not going to stare at it, and I think it's a huge waste to have these cars that are modern engineering marvels just sitting there and not being pushed hard and driven right. But that's your right as a citizen to buy whatever you want and do whatever you want with it. Yeah.
No, I agree. There were some comments while we were taking a break I do want to address. We brought up speeding a lot, and it was during the Travis Kennedy deal, how we were like, oh, you know, shouldn't be a deal, blah, blah, blah. With that said, both of us know we do some stupid shit when we're driving. Controlled stupid shit, I would say. We know the risks of what we're doing, and we never, I would say, majority of the time, put anybody else at risk. It's always ourselves at risk. If there's a ton of traffic, when people hear we do some of the stuff we do, you automatically picture 10 minivans that we're weaving in and out of. We are very cautious about hitting the brakes, making sure we're not endangering families and all that. Matter of fact, at one point we were about to get pulled over by a cop. A cop almost ran a family off the road, not us. And we weren't even doing anything that crazy. But he was so nutted up to fuck with us that he almost ran an SUV off the road, not us. And so in the comments, you guys think that, oh, these guys think they're above the law, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm also the motherfucker when I get pulled over by a cop and he's like, you know how fast you was going? I don't know what your radar gun say. Well, it said 140. Oh, shit, my shit said 136. Okay, I believe you. I'm going to admit I fucked up, you know. But if I didn't fuck up, I didn't fuck up.
Yeah, I mean, I would, I guess, echo the, you know, hey, like, I think it doesn't even matter what I think. I mean, the reality of it is that, you know, if there's any speeding going on and there's tickets involved, like, that's part of the deal. Mm-hmm. Both of us understand that. You know, I'm going to do my damnedest to not ever bitch about any of that, because I know the rules, and so if I break them, then it's on me to deal with it if that happens. So, you know, the last thing I'm going to do, like, I have nothing but respect for law enforcement. I've worked with and continue to work with a ton of them. A number of them are good friends of mine. Those guys have a thankless, dangerous, tough fucking job. Mm-hmm. And my hat's off to all of them. So what I don't ever want to do on this platform or any is seem like I don't feel that way about them, because I do. I have a ton of respect for them. And, you know, the times that we go out and try to enjoy our cars, sometimes it involves, you know, getting into situations with them. But again, that's on us. So.
Yeah. And oh shit, there went my phone. When we say stuff like speeding is a silly crime or what, we're not meaning it's not a crime, because there are posted limits. We know we're going and breaking rules, but we find there's other shit that manpower could be put towards. Are there people that endanger families? Yes, and that's kind of what we talked about earlier. The people who buy the cars never without any experience. Can something go wrong with our cars? Yes. But before you judge us, do you know how often our cars are maintained, tires checked? Neither one of us will even attempt to speed or act stupid unless our tire pressures are at the right pressure, tire temperatures are at the right temperature.
The weather's fucking accommodating for it.
Yeah, there's multiple factors that go into how we drive. It's not ever, I get on, it's fucking drizzling outside, and I look over in the window and I just fucking gun it, you know, and I'm doing 200 and hope that minivan gets the fuck out of my way. No. So those of y'all that think that's not at all how it is, and we do respect the police, except for that one sausage finger fucker in South Lake. No, I still respect him, but he pulled me over and I shouldn't have got pulled over. But there are other crimes that we both wish they would spend a little more money on. Instead of having 10 traffic cops, move 8 of those fuckers to catching some of these people fucking with kids, murdering, beating their wives, shit like that. We get it. Traffic shit's stupid. Or driving fast can be stupid. You can't hurt people. But resources should be put other places. With that said, cops in Texas are bad right now. I know, because I had like a 4-day stint of tickets. But last question. I'm not going to mention your name. It says, what's up, guys? My name is Beep. I'm from Fort Worth, 24 years old. I co-own a construction company that's growing rapidly. Wanted to get y'all's opinion. Buying a car now in the 80 to 120 price range and eventually working up to a supercar. This is probably late, and you probably already bought your car. But for those of y'all,
how long ago was it?
This was July of last year.
So almost a year old.
Yeah. So with that said, there are people, and I talk to this guy quite a bit. He'll message me every now and then.
Do you know if he bought a car already?
I don't think he has yet. We actually talked to there's actually a guy that listens local that drives a Porsche.
Oh yeah,
That we see quite a bit. 80 to 120,000. Now, July, that would have been a totally different conversation. Right now, 80 to 120. Cars are so fucked up the past 2 years. I would have said a Z06, or if we go pre-COVID, ZR1.
Mm-hmm.
ZL1 Camaro would be a good car.
That's what I was going to say. Camaro ZL1 with a tune and a mild tune and a downpipe. I wouldn't get fucking nutty trying to do 1,000 horsepower, but bump it up, 120.
Yeah.
Get it up into the, around the 700 wheel time frame. Have the track pack with all the
1LE
carbon dampeners and the big spoiler and all that. GT500 similarly. Both those cars are way at the low end of your range. Mm-hmm. I think
it would give you money to do some other stuff. The GT, I found a GT500, 3,000 miles on it, silver and black, 87,000.
Yeah,
low miles.
Yeah, I mean for sure those two cars I think are your ticket for overall driving experience in that price range. And you don't have to spend a ton of money to get them up to where performance wise they're pretty fucking substantial. Comparing the two. I will say the Camaro is the better driving car as far as the chassis balance on track, etc. Mm-hmm. Handling, not by a ton, but it is a little better. The GT500 stock to stock is faster. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't handle quite as well. So depending on what you want, I also think that the GT500 is a sexier, better sounding car. As well, but again, it kind of depends on what are your priorities, what do you value the most. But yeah, to me, those two cars would be my first two picks. Mm-hmm. I would say an honorable mention would be a Cadillac CTS Blackwing, mm-hmm. the 2-door coupe, because it shares the Alpha chassis with the Camaro ZL1. It has the same fucking chassis, so it actually drives way better than you think it would.
Yeah, if you're looking for a 4-door, that CT5V Blackwing has come down considerably. In that price range, I will throw this out there: an older M5 or a M3.
Yeah.
Or M4 if you just want 2-door.
Yeah.
But I would go with the newer generation, and you'd really have to hunt because they're still up there in price. Like I was looking at them the other day. I think the cheapest one I found in an M3 with good options, competition was like 114.
Yeah.
Unless you went into crazy mileage and fucked behind a BMW with high miles.
Yeah.
There's a ton of other questions in here, guys. Sorry. I'm not going to go back a year now and go through all of them because, we're getting into some of them. And some of them are from Randy, and fuck that dude. Hopefully he's still listening. I talk to him quite a bit still. So if you have a question, ask.uninfluenced@gmail.com and let us know. I think that's all I got. You got anything else?
That's all I got for now. We'll get back into it, and you'll start to hear more from us, and so we'll get back into the swing of things and maybe get a little more thorough as we go on.
Yeah, fuck that thoroughness. All right, guys. Peace, bitches.